Wow, you've never seen a boat since then?
No.
This is the first time you've having me walking down here.
In 66
Whoa.
years.
Jesus
This is
Christ.
the first time I've seen the El Primero in 66 years.
Oh my God.
That in itself.
We gotta take you up to the pilot house to get a picture. I'll email it to you and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Jesus
So where have you
Christ.
been all this time?
Well, I live in Paulsville, and I've been in Paulsville 40 years, but I grew up in Seattle. I graduated from Issaquah High School, and I spent 8 years in Southern California in the aerospace industries and advertising. I had an advertising agency in Los Angeles. So
Oh, you were in El Segundo?
El Segundo, yeah. I work for the Aerospace Corporation.
Which one?
Wow.
And I got so many stories about that, about the aerospace industries.
I know.
Well, Christian's
What
dad,
years
yeah.
were you doing aerospace?
Well, I started out as an apprentice airplane mechanic in 1946, but then from then on I went in 1950. I was what they call an industrial sculptor, and I sculpted the first 707.
Wow.
I sculptured it in life size. There was a crew about 10, 15 guys, and we sculptured the first 707 out of plaster.
Well, where were you there? That was
in Renton.
In Renton.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And then, after that, I went to we were done doing the 707. I went to California and enrolled in the Art Center College of Design and majored in industrial design. And then at night, I went to work at Lockheed, and then I was an industrial sculptor at Lockheed, sculpturing the F-104, the Lockheed
Oh
Electra.
my God. The
Wow.
the 104. Yeah.
But when you were in Renton, how old were you then when you said
20.
20.
Yeah, it was 1950.
1950.
50, no. In 52 is when I was a sculptor, but I had worked at Boeing as a flight line mechanic in 1950. And then went to the Air Force, and when I got back out of the Air Force, I went to work at Boeing, this time as a sculptor, and that's when we built the Electra. I mean, the 707.
The 707 or the 720? Yeah, 707.
707.
And that was in 1960?
No, 1962.
62, because did you know Myra Slovak?
Yeah. Oh, in fact, I'll tell you the story about Myra Slovak, because in 1958, I was one of the crewmen on the Hawaii Kai, and Myra Slovak was a pilot for Bill Boeing on his Yahoo, and I got to know Myra Slovak. Then when I moved to California, I lived in Manhattan Beach. 200 feet down the street from me is where Myra Slovak lived on the Strand in Manhattan Beach, and he and I became good buddies. And I'd say, Myra, you know, you're a good-looking guy. You light me up with all these chicks.
Oh my God.
Were you ever
Now we're talking the language.
Were you ever at the hangar, Bill Boeing Jr.'s hangar, where Myra
No.
You were on Primero Road? You don't remember that?
No, because that was
Oahu.
that was Oahu, but because I was on the Hawaii Kai, the doors would close.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Were you ever on Primero Road there though? With Bill Boeing Jr.'s
But I never
shop?
I never dared.
That's funny.
The doors would slam shut because the Hawaii Kai, we broke the world speed record with the Hawaii Kai at that time, and so anyway, but I got to know Myra Slovak.
Yes.
But he was very careful about it.
That's very interesting.
Did you ever met the guy who did the Spruce Goose?
What?
The Spruce Goose, what's his name?
Spruce Goose, Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes,
Did you
yeah.
ever met him?
No, he died before I got to know him. But I worked right next door.
That's what he died.
And I knew, in fact, his best buddy of mine, which I just discovered this week, he was an electrical engineer for Howard Hughes in his aerospace industries, and the neatest guy. But anyway, the aerospace industries was so exciting.
Yeah.
And this is when we had not had nothing in space.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was hired as an illustrator to make all these paintings and drawings to educate the astronauts on what to look for when they go out in space. And so I was on the ground floor. In fact,
Wow.
This past spring, a year ago this spring, I went to Italy. Before I went to Italy, I looked on the internet because I remembered I had worked on a satellite, and the satellite was called the Vela, V-E-L-A satellite.